All right, what's up, everybody? Yes, we are doing another podcast. That's like number 5 this season. We had ambitions of doing that last year, but that didn't happen. So it's been awesome. Lots of positive feedback. It's a early morning. It's not crazy early. It's only 7, but to my right here, I've got my good pal, Dale Ray. Dale, you've actually been the topic of or been brought up in quite a few podcasts over the years.
I mean, let's talk real dollars. How much would you rent this to me for today?
Fuck yeah! That's fucking fun. God damn it.
Yep. And it was awesome. We were in the truck. So Dale is quick history. Dale is a client, but has turned to way more than a client. Personal friend, someone that we all love to go ride with on our personal time. Built a lot of sleds with us, and and not only you, but you've brought your crew, right? Your brother and just all the guys, and we. It's been a wild ride over the last. Let's see, we were just talking about this. So Dale's out here for another session here at BBA. We're a little tired because we've been holding on to 900 boost turbos for the last 2 days, and we're going to go do it one more day today.
Yes, we are.
Yes. So I thought this would be cool. We have lots of fun stuff to talk about on the podcast side of things, but I thought it'd be neat to bring someone who, just like you, sitting here listening, hopefully while you're going and sitting in the truck going snowmobiling somewhere.
That's my buddies tonight.
That's you. That's your buddies.
They're going to be driving out tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Dale, I wanted to just bring you on. We've had a lot of adventures. It's so fun. I think that's probably my favorite part about this business is the people I meet, the relationships that are made. And, you are just one of those dudes that from all the way back in 2016, your first year coming here, which we're going to probably start there, to fast forward to now where you're just this absolute ripper. Kyle, if Kyle was here, he would have a bunch of stories about you,
too. Oh, my God.
Too.
Yeah,
but
me and Kyle. It sucks that he's not here.
It does.
It's not quite the same.
But, one of the things Kyle would always say, when we were going riding with you, he would always, well, we better not slip up so the client doesn't pass us.
That's my ultimate goal, is to try to get by you guys. It hasn't really happened yet, but we're working towards it.
Well, at any moment it could. So, Dale, let's rewind. Let's go back to 2016. Why the heck did you sign up to come to BBA?
Well, like a lot of people, obviously we watch your videos and things like that, and obviously we all strive to be better riders. And it's nice to ride with people who are better than you, so you can get better. And if you always ride with the same people, the same terrain, you're never going to get better. So obviously watching your videos, it looked really difficult. So, and another thing was just to see where I was at, how good am I? And so those two things brought me out here. So,
well, and I need to rewind one more. Why don't you tell everyone where you're from, how long you've been riding and experience all that.
So I'm from Eagle River, Wisconsin. Been riding snowmobiles since probably the age of 5 or 6. I didn't get into mountain riding. My first mountain sled was a 2009 Summit XP 146, and started out with that. I rode the UP a lot. I'd make one trip a year out to Togety.
Mm-hmm.
But then it progressively got more addictive. I started riding with some buddies who had been riding longer than me.
Yeah.
They were better than me. Started riding with them, and they got me even more addicted to the sport. And then my brother bought a 2011 Assault when that new Pro chassis came
Pro
out.
chassis. Yep.
And we went to Togedy, and it was like, what the hell? I was on my Summit, and he just went like blowing by me. I'm like, this is not going to work. So I got home and bought another Polaris.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that started.
I think that's what's so awesome and very relatable to all you guys listening out there today is that you were literally the definition of like the very common snowmobiler in your neck of the woods,
Yeah,
right? Like
definitely.
Rides the UP, and there is some fun technical terrain in the UP.
And that's where I learned how to ride, and it's sort of a different style. Like you ride more parallel with the hill. You're not going up because you don't have the long pulls in the mountains, but you can really work on your side hilling, and different techniques that way. So it was just learning how to ride your way is a little different than that, but you can learn a lot of the basics there.
We always joked about that. Like, Kyle from Minnesota, same thing, right? Like he learned how to side hill in the ditches. You didn't need much.
No.
Didn't need much. No. But so UP rider kind of getting the bug for like, okay, this technical side of things, and then coming out to Togedy, getting your butt kicked by a different sled. That happens all the time to a ton of people, and that's what creates progression, not only with the product, progression with like in your mindset. And so, that kind of establishes it. And so your one trip to Togedy, you're like, what was your first trip out west? What, like, I always tell people who come here, right? Like, have you ever ridden the mountains? Nope. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to ruin riding for you at home.
Yeah. And it did. And that was the biggest blessing and curse. Obviously it's turned into this is my whole life. Like, besides my family, this is the number one for me.
Yeah.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about riding sleds. My brother and I, we work together, and we're constantly talking about sleds and what kind of sleds we want to build and where we want to try to ride. And, the addiction is just crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So that kind of sets the forefront for you guys. Dale was just common rider, goes out west, gets the bug. And then, not only the bug from the riding standpoint, but the sled standpoint as well.
You started that. When I came here, it was, my sleds, I had some stuff on them, but like, obviously your sleds are at a totally different level than most people, so that you are partially to blame for a lot of that.
Well, and that's what we're going to talk about. So just being out on the surface, which like you were, and you were seeing all these like crazy builds and turbos and all this stuff back then.
Yep.
And that era, 2016, like I had been building, these turbos, and then about 16, 17, that's when I really started into the lightweight stuff.
Yes, you did.
And for me, it opened up this whole new world, and it was something that you got to see firsthand that you're like, whoa, this isn't just show. This is like
that
real.
That sled is ridiculous. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Like the first time I rode it, you had that monster, that blue one, the super lightweight 155, wheelie everywhere. Ross tried to ride it.
Remember?
And he just couldn't even ride it. He's like, I can't even ride this thing. It was just wheelied everywhere. Yeah. Which is pretty funny to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I've told that story a couple times of, Ross trying to get on that snowmobile and just seriously, like in our sugar in an open meadow, he literally couldn't ride the damn thing.
Could not ride it.
And so that's okay, so you get here in 16. Tell me, let's go through it.
That's a pretty crazy story. So my buddy Rick came with me. We get out here a day early. I have a turboed 155, not a Boondocker brand. We went up to test and do some clutch work just to see what it was all about. Crazy storm happened. We drive up to the hill. We can't get up any farther. The grader stopped or plow, or however they were plowing that road that day up to Cottonwood. And so we park off the side. I drive up like 5 miles up the hill. My sled blows up. I'm like, well, this is great.
Great start.
This is a great start. Yeah. So then we tried to drag the sled down, but I had a better idea. I'm going to try to drive the truck up to the top. I'm like, I'm sick of riding and getting towed down the hill. So I had a bright idea to drive the truck up. Get the truck buried at the top of the hill.
Of course.
So then I have to unhook the trailer, drive down to Napa, get some tire chains, call a tow truck, do that whole bit. So then we finally get everything out. Sled's blowing up. Get down the hill. Come in here. Talk to you. I'm like, you asked me how's it going. I said not good. Blew my sled up. Stuck up on the hill. Whatnot. I did have a backup sled, a brand new 155 800, and but then I talked to the wife and I'm like, I really need a turbo here. You know, I can't even breathe here. The sled can't breathe. I need a turbo. So
Well, duh.
obviously you had turbos here. We put a Boondocker turbo on it.
That night.
And yes, and you rebuilt it and all that. And so that was quite the first trip.
Quite the start.
It was very
huh?
expensive too. Yes, it was some coaxing on the wife. I'm like, do you mind if we do this?
Uh-huh. Well, and throughout the years, I have come to know, I don't know your wife, but I know that your wife is very understanding. She's very supportive of your habit, which is very key for
she's amazing.
The success of all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for first trip, you blow up your sled. We got to rebuild it. And so obviously we have all of our crap going on.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then Dale brings in this sled packed with snow because it just got towed. It's like the worst. It's blown up. We need to pull a turbo. We need to install a turbo. We need to rebuild it. Yeah. And so all of this so we can get ready to ride the next day in like some crazy deep snow.
And I let you know at like 8:30. I'm like, give me some time to talk to my wife. I need to figure out if this is actually going to happen. And then I texted you, let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
you
that
took care of it.
That was a late night in the shop.
Yes.
But and then that sled, in my opinion, for you, kind of started that push from a rider standpoint and skill standpoint. I mean, those were such capable snowmobiles.
Oh, they were awesome.
Right?
Just ran spot on.
2016 Access turbo pump gas that just
It just worked.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a great sled. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's interesting when a situation like that happens. You can take it one of two ways. You can get defeated. You could jump in the truck, say, "Piss this, I'm going home." You could have got on your stalker and just made excuses like.
I did make a couple excuses when we wrode that.
Well, that's
it was like the deepest. Well, it was at the time. It was the deepest snow I'd ever ridden. Brand new 800, 155, and I couldn't go anywhere. And it was really frustrating. And I was blaming it on the sled. It wasn't the sled.
Well, you got to have some excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I guess so not only did you get this new weapon, right? This new sled, but then you get to go ride 3 days in some crazy snow in some crazy terrain with me and the team.
Yeah.
What was it like the first trip?
It was very eye-opening, to say the least. First of all, it's intimidating. And I see it. I've been coming here for a lot of years now, so I can see it on everyone's face. Like if they're new here, they should be intimidated because we're going to do something that is very difficult to do. And generally, a lot of people come here from the Midwest, so we can't breathe at all.
True.
We're not used to it. We can't sleep. It's just hard, but it's really fun. At the end of the 3 days, you feel like I accomplished. I got better. It's just a neat experience, to be honest.
Yeah. And that means a lot hearing that, because and that's what's been so incredible about us doing BBA for so long is that we have now gotten to the position that we look at the group we had yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. We had a ton of challenges. We were in some, the gnarliest terrain that we have here at BBA. And upside down, we had 6 A-arms yesterday.
I was going to say, we need to talk about the record that we set yesterday.
I had 2, TJ had 2, Blake had 1, and there was only one client. So Team BBA sucked yesterday.
That was said at the table last night, I must say. Simon said that. He's like, you know what? There was only one client, and that was me, that actually wrecked anything. We all sort of chuckled at that.
But you know what's interesting about that through all of that, right? I mean, everyone just because again we have so many repeats now. I mean, you've ridden with a lot of the same guys over the years because they just keep coming back because they took the same approach and same attitude that you came into this with is like I want to get better.
Yeah.
I want to go get my ass kicked, and I want to push myself. And I think that's, instantly, like from a person perspective, like you're mellow, easy to like it's really tough to get you like riled up.
I'm pretty laid back.
Right?
Yeah.
So like I feel, I was like, okay, this dude literally just like had to call a tow truck, go get chains, blew up his sled, and he's still fairly okay.
Well, I'm still jacked about being here. Like, I mean, that was my first time to Colorado too.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
And then seeing these mountains, it's like, holy shit, we're going to go up. And I don't know where we're riding. I mean, I pulled into Buena Vista. I have no clue.
Yeah.
I found Cottonwood Pass, and we went up there and got buried.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so, and I guess kind of the next step for me, is you have done what a lot of our clients have done, and you just literally, after that trip, you just kind of went all in.
I did. Yeah. 100%. Got super addicted to it, and because, when you ride with the same people, you don't know what you don't know. And
True.
When you see what you can actually get done on a snowmobile and you can't do it yet, it's like, I want to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that or be good at anything is seat time or just doing it more. 100%. You just have to do it.
Have to do it.
And get fully engulfed in whatever it is in life. You have to just go all in.
So it sounds like that was kind of your biggest takeaway after the first 3 days ever here in Colorado at BBA was that this is hard, but I enjoy it, and I want.
And I definitely learned a ton, like a ton. So that was cool. It wasn't just I got my butt kicked, and I got brought down about 55 levels. But
55.
But I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's like. I got a lot to learn yet, so that.
Well, you bring up the point, like when you ride with the same group of buddies all the time and you go to the Togety or you go to the Rabbit Ears or you go to the wherever, you literally just like are a creature of habit.
Yeah.
You end up kind of riding the same terrain, the same stuff, and it's really hard to progress.
Yeah. Same runs. Yep. I made the run again this week, this trip, whatever.
Exactly.
Yep.
And especially when you're the top guy in the in the
hard.
group. Yeah. Because you're trying to balance like, okay, I don't want to get all the guys like way in over their head, but I still want
everybody to have fun.
That's right.
There's definitely a balance there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and that's why, we talk about it, and we talked about it literally on day one up on the hill 2 days ago was, we got to the top of the line and you literally just like, and that's why I come here.
Yep.
And it was one of those lines that was 50-50. Like I'm either going to make it or I'm going to like flip over backwards into the shit here. And
we did have chaos on day one.
I know.
And I'm like, no,
don't worry. I'm going to talk about that too. So, okay. So, we got a lot to cover, but, so Dale has now goes not only all in on you bought a house in Colorado.
We did.
You ride, this has been your year.
This has been my year. Yeah, it's been awesome. I told my wife that this is going to be the year, and it has been so far. The snow hasn't been stellar in December, but we didn't care. We still rode, whatever.
Yep.
Just, you might bend a few things, but it is what it is. You're going to ride no matter what.
Yeah.
If you want to actually do it.
And from a sled standpoint, that's kind of where I was going, so we could kind of bring up the chaos side of things. So, where you ride up in northern Colorado quite a bit.
Yep.
And there is some gnarly terrain up there for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
But with the snowpack and, the majority of the terrain is, not as I would say not as steep and technical, maybe not as tight of trees. And then obviously we have our snow that
sugar snow
adds another challenge, right?
Yep.
So a sled that you really enjoy and get along with is the Chaos Profile. You've got 3 sleds this year. Why don't you talk about them?
I do. I have, the 3 are 24s. I've got a 165. Started out this trip as a Chaos boost with a 900 on it. It's got the carbon skid, spindles, shocks, seat, some other lightweight stuff. Then I have a 155 boost that's tuned by Eric over at Alpine.
Yep.
That's a really fun sled for that area, not for this area. You wouldn't go anywhere.
Well, he asked me, should I bring my 55 boost? And I text him back, we ride long tracks here.
Yeah. I knew that was going to be the answer, but I'm like, well, worst case, I have a problem. I can at least put a longer track on it, but like, I should be fine. I have 2 brand new sleds, and it is. It's totally good. But
and then your third sled?
And then my third sled's a 9R 165 with shocks and the 325 track. And the 325 track, other than here I lost some confidence in it. It trenches here.
Yeah.
Not everywhere, but it doesn't do that at all over by the ears or
and it just
Wyoming.
gets some shit done.
It's a really good track. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's still fine here too, but it's not the stellar track that it is up north.
Well, and that's what's yes. So you have like this arsenal of really badass snowmobiles,
Very
which is really
fortunate.
cool.
Yeah.
And so you show up and you text me prior, hey, should I put a pro limiter strap on my? Because you knew you were going to ride your 9 boost.
Oh yeah. No, I knew we were going to 9 boost.
You knew
for sure.
Yeah.
Heck
I
yeah.
save all the zones for this particular group too, right? We have a and I know we're just going to go like climb some
Get some
crazy
stuff
stuff. And I said, well, I'm switching my sled to a pro. And you're like, okay.
Dang
and
it.
so dang it. And so you get here, I'm like, hey, so did you put your is it a pro or a Chaos? You're like, oh, it's a Chaos. And I'm like,
Yes.
excellent. As the George, yep. And so I think this is what I was thinking about on day one was I'm like, well, this will be easy. All I have to do is, so we talk about 165ing people.
Mm-hmm.
So like when a guy's on a 155, I'm riding a 165 because I ride a 165 all the time. I'm like, all I have to do is like turn left and go up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to 165 him. When you showed up with your Chaos, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to pro Dale a bunch today.
And you did that. Yeah. It just, with the Chaos here and the snowpack, it just literally.
You can't get going.
You can't get going. It wants to raise up, which is fun.
Yeah.
For a different style of riding.
Yeah.
You know, it's great for the bow ties, re-entries, whatever, all that stuff. But to get the line done, not ideal.
So long story short, that the night after day one, we're taking his pro skid out of his 9R and putting it in the boost. But anyway, so I wanted to, again, I'm the one who like talks all the time on the podcast, and when I have a guest, I suck at letting them talk. So
that's fine.
Whatever. We've had so many awesome times, whether it be here at BBA. We've had a ton of fun when we would just meet up at Rabbit Ears and go play.
Yep.
You've got to go down to Chile with us, and you got to ride down there in the middle of summer.
Chile was really cool. Yeah,
Chile was cool.
It was really cool. It was quite the experience. And Chile was the snow that we got there was ridiculous.
It was the best.
It was like one of the best powder days ever.
Mm-hmm.
In August. Like, who gets to do that?
Yeah.
Like, super cool.
Well, that was one of the most unforgettable days because it was our last day of riding, Ross and I's, and then the next crew was going to come in, and it was our day 3, so everyone was worked, right? Especially, and so like everyone decided like, oh, we're done, we're going to head back.
We're tired.
So it was essentially me, you, and Ross
just riding.
Just riding.
Yeah.
And it was like, on our last day at Chile, we had just worked our ass off for 3.5 weeks, and that was the pot of gold at the end of the
It was
rainbow.
super cool. Yeah, it was stupid deep.
Didn't want it to end.
No,
that's for
when
sure.
we came back, my sled was out of gas.
Out of gas.
Out of gas. And that's the best feeling. Like, after a super good powder day, you cannot go back to the trailer with any gas left.
No.
If you do, that's a sin.
It's a fail.
You should not ever do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, never, ever.
So so like obviously that was a memory, but what after all these years, like and you said last night you couldn't sleep because you were thinking of all these things to talk about.
Yeah.
Hit me with some of the highlights that that have really stuck out to you over the years, and I could see this being from a ride standpoint, from a sled standpoint, from all of it. What's been things that were game changers for you?
I would say the game changer for me was when I built a 2018 Boondocker intercooled turbo, and that was a really good running sled, like super fun, lots of power, snappy on the bottom end yet, so you could actually ride it in the trees. And when we met up, you met us, my group, because we all had some. I think my whole group might have did some turbos that year,
A bunch that year,
and we had the skins front end and the free flow.
Mm-hmm.
I think it actually might have even been before free flow.
It was the one before.
The one before.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you met us up at the ears, and it had to have been early December. And you were on a build 55, and you took us into Marty's hole, and you just did this stupid line that you always do in crazy deep powder, and we're all following you down this rabbit hole. We don't even really know where we're going, and just follow Chris. We're just down, and everyone's like, holy shit, we're really getting into some shit here. And but anyway, that was a really fun memory because it was my group too with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never happened. Other than Rick has come here, none of my other buddies my brother hasn't been here. So that was probably one of my best moments, is riding with you with my buddies.
With your group.
Yeah. So that was really cool.
Do you think when we dropped in there, and I always, I love when we go in there, like, all right, boys, the only way out is this way.
Yeah.
And everyone's eyes are about this big, and everyone's on new sleds. It's early season conditions, log hopping everywhere.
Yep. No base.
No,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's on new sleds. We don't even know how to turn them on barely. We're trying to. Takes us 3 hours to get dressed because we can't get everything together at once. And
well, I remember, that was a year that, that 16, 17, 18, I was going all in on like these crazy lightweight builds, and you did one.
I did one.
Like that one. All tie bolts. You were texting me and calling me like, oh my God, do you have this one titanium bolt? Because this gold bolt is so hideous on my snowmobile because every other one is titanium.
Yeah.
And that sled, and we build those sleds not to look fancy in the shop.
Well, they don't look fancy very long.
Not
to me.
very. Yeah. The sled absolutely pushes the rider.
Oh, 100%. When I ride one of my buddies' sleds who doesn't have my lightweight stuff, or vice versa, when they ride mine, they're like, "Oh my God!"
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't think it made that kind of a difference. And
Yep.
it does. It's very expensive though, and that you have to justify how much riding time do you actually have.
Mm-hmm.
And it is nice to have stock parts on, because if you don't get much riding time and you do break something, you can go to the dealership and get it.
True.
Where me, I'm fortunate. I get to ride a lot, and I have multiple snowmobiles too. So if one breaks, I get on a different one.
Yeah.
And wait for parts, or maybe it's a stock part, whatever. But it's just nice to have that option.
Yeah. Well, so and I think one of the things that I've been kind of grateful in this relationship is obviously you build sleds every year through us, and all of your buddies use us as a resource, which is very humbling. That there's a lot of options out there, but I think you've had some troubled years from on sleds.
Yeah.
Right. You
And that happens. I mean, I don't care what brand you're on.
well,
You can have
100%. And so you ended up getting frustrated enough that you rode Skidoo last year.
last year I did.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and
Mainly just because my sleds weren't coming in and I had sold
Yep.
my previous years. And I'm like, I need to ride in December.
Yeah.
Like, and
100%.
I need a snowmobile.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to buy a used Polaris. I just didn't want to do that. I wanted a new snowmobile because I know what I have.
Yeah.
I don't want a problem that someone else is trying to get rid of.
Yeah. Well, and I think unfortunately, a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a conversation in my head where I'm like, the Skidoo is a great product for a lot of things. If we lose a Polaris rider to a Skidoo snowmobile, are we going to be able to get them back? And for sure, and I'm going to let you talk to this, the reason that you're back is because of?
Well, mainly because of the technical. So if you ride a Skidoo, they're really good. They are. And I really enjoyed my Skidoo too.
Yep.
But if you ride here, or if you ride super technical, and I'm sure there is Skidoo riders that can ride it. Clearly, I haven't ridden with very many Skidoo riders.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly Polaris guys. But for me personally, I ride a Polaris better when it gets super technical, super steep, the hardest terrain that I can find. It just works better.
Yep.
And mainly because of, it seems like the Polaris is more balanced. It's not so divey.
Mm-hmm.
And when you, especially downhill stuff, if you go to try to do like a hook turn up, the Skidoo really wants to dig in. And it's like chaos in you. And my Polaris did that a little bit on day one. Because it'll want to lift. And that's another thing with the Skidoo tendency is it'll wheelie for 5 miles straight. But
Yep.
It's not really great in the trees when you're trying to get a line done.
Yeah. Well, and and I hope you guys, we have talked about this a bunch in different topics and everything, is like, I love that there are, that we have competition in our industry. Skidoo makes an incredible product. Yeah. It's great to see Arctic Cat coming back with something. I'm very happy about that. And because it gives, we all win on that. If there's no competition, then there's no progression on the sled side of things. And if you take a stock, any brand right now, the stock machines are absolutely incredible.
Oh, they're amazing.
But to your point, yesterday, when you and Cole were up on that mountain and I came underneath and, again, I've got home court advantage. I've been up this hill 100 times, but I don't care how many times I've been up that hill. At the bottom, I always get the butterflies because I'm like, dude, if I don't do it right, I'm going to get effed.
Especially when we were just sitting there too.
Yeah, and I saw you guys too. But so this is a place you've heard us refer to as Narnia. We were riding Narnia yesterday. The snow has to be right to get in there. Sometimes when it's too sugary or too deep or whatever, you just can't ride it. It's this. In my opinion, until sleds change, like it's literally as steep as it can legally be ridden.
Right. That line you pulled yesterday was retarded.
So when I turned, when I'm going straight up, I'm feeling okay. But then I get in front of me this option of, man, do I try to go over this head wall and get into this junk, or do I go below it and still try to win the line? And that's because you said it looked like you wanted it more right there.
It looked like you wanted more. There was a little bit of a knob at the top.
And I could have potentially done it, but because I knew the hill and I knew what was around the corner, I'm like, and this is what sucks is like, it's way easier to just keep the skis high, pin it through all the stuff.
And ride it lazy, basically.
Ride it lazy and get to the top.
Yeah.
But there was some consequences of that. So as soon as I turned right, that's when it's like my heart rate raises. It's like it is so steep. And the snow yesterday, you had to be so careful that if the front end dove just a little bit, it would wash out that back end.
Yep.
And so I was thinking about this last night when we were coming home, and the GoPro won't show it. It will show the trees like this or like however it does. It will look steep, but there's no other snowmobile made right now that could actually do that line.
No.
No. And that's why you're back.
Yeah, that's why I'm
right.
back.
That's why
Yeah.
you're back.
Yep.
It's why I choose to ride Polaris. I could go ride something else. But I love that.
Yeah.
I love that I have control in very uncomfortable situations.
I think it's just the chassis is balanced better for that style of riding.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing and I could be wrong, but to me, that's what I get out of it.
Yeah.
From riding the Skidoo last year to riding the Polaris this
Well, and I'll be honest, you know what? I really enjoyed talking to you about your experiences with
year. With it.
it.
Yeah.
Because I don't get a ton of Skidoo riders here, and when I do get on the sled, I get to go ride it for 10 minutes, right? And
Right.
you got to go ride it for a season, and that's what it takes. Whether you're a Polaris guy and you're going to ride a Skidoo or a Skidoo guy going to ride a Polaris, you can't get on a snowmobile for 10 minutes and have a good baseline of it. So it was, I really enjoyed your kind of analogy of in a lot of the terrain, the sled is super fun.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But and
it's not going to sugar snow either.
true.
It's not.
It's not.
It will not.
They don't get
hop
up on top
They
of the
will
snow.
not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But
Well,
at Rabbit Ears, different story.
different story. Yeah.
And
So-
to me, the Skidoo, it just, I don't know. It just always wants to trench here a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. But in snow with some moisture, it does just fine.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, this next path that we'll kind of chat about here is where does it go from here for you?
I think that a lot. Like I talked to my wife. I'm like, okay, so I'm 43. I'll be 44 in March. And it's like, how do I obviously I can keep challenging myself. Obviously that's why I come here
Mm-hmm.
to keep trying to progress and get better in that. But like, what is the next step for me? And obviously the sleds will dictate that a little bit too.
Does.
Maybe a new sled comes out, it's a little bit better and that'll progress my riding and yours too. And everybody's my group and we'll just keep getting better. But like in the past 5 years, I think I've taken some pretty big jumps and I wonder that too. Like I really don't know, and,
Yeah.
and that's what's cool about it too. Like, but that's why I said this year I want to ride more than I've ever ridden.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll see where that takes me.
Well, you said something, when we were all driving down in the truck, I'm like, hey, Blake, let's do a podcast with Dale. And it's like truck talk, right? Because we have just a lot of story. I mean, a podcast is truck talk, right?
Yeah, yeah, basically.
With your buddies, right?
Yeah.
So you said something that I took as a compliment because when at any point, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when you feel you're at the top of your game,
Mm-hmm.
you wonder how is it going to get better? And you said something to me. You said, you're a lot better of a rider than when I first started riding.
Oh,
with you."
100%.
And I thought about that and I was like, well, that's pretty awesome,
Yeah.
right? Like that is the future.
Yeah.
Right. So, but in 2016, I couldn't imagine being any better of a rider. I was like,
No, you probably thought I really can't get much better.
Exactly. But that's the motive. And maybe not thinking that I couldn't be a better of a rider, but where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. The sleds dictate what we can do, but more importantly, and this is why, it's very relatable for you to be here. So I'll segue just real quick. So I drew a really sweet archery tag this year, 9 years of points, draw this archery tag. And I took the exact same approach as I am going to hunt like I need to hunt to be successful.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just hunting. It was like, okay, I quit drinking and I'm not a big drinker anyway, but I knew that I needed to get my body to the level that I wanted to go hunt this unit that was like some big country, big ups and downs and elevation, and then my workout program and everything. And like to hear, you take the exact same approach for your snowmobile season this year. It's just like, dude, it's just awesome.
Last season I want to say like around 200. And I had a goal. I wrote it down on my phone to try to manifest it. And I said, you're going to be 185 pounds for last season. And I didn't get there. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't happy. Obviously, I had a great season. I had fun, whatever. But this season, I'm like, that is not going to happen. And I crushed that, and I'm at 175 now. And, like, the lightweight sleds and everything, it is great. But I'll tell you what, if you're a lighter human, you can really tell the difference. Like, your sled just works better. Yeah. And it's easier to ride. And I was worried strength to weight. I'm like, well, I don't want to give up too much strength because that was always just to try to find that balance. But I think I'm there for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess, and that's my point is that, when I ask you, where do you go from here? I mean, you have completely changed your mindset from, a physical standpoint. Yeah. The riding will come, right?
100%.
And I think that's what's so awesome about getting you down here is, again, like, I want you to never look at a hill and say that there's not a chance that I can get up there.
Oh, I don't think that anymore. And that's the other cool thing about coming down here is, like, when you ride with someone who's better than you, it's like, no, we might not be able to go straight up that thing, but we can zigzag, and go back and forth, switch back up. We can make that.
Yeah.
Like, worst case, we don't, but we tried our damnedest to get up there.
Yep.
And we're going to have a shit ton of laughs doing it.
Yeah.
We'll be upside down. Hopefully nothing broke. But
we'll
have fun doing it.
You've done pretty good. My yesterday was just dumb. I tried to do something way over the limits of my snowmobile.
That was a huge tree you tried to jump over.
Yeah. One of the log hops got me yesterday. Yeah. I was looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
I love hearing the perspective. I love hearing, that we can be an influence to guys like yourself to just, that's what this sport is built out of, is enthusiasts and people who just want to keep progressing. And, I think that's the number one thing that's been so frustrating for me on the player side of things, that they have struggled with a little bit of quality stuff, a little bit of, the recalls and all this BS, and people just, getting on the bandwagon. Right. Is they are exactly like that. They are so passionate about, like, wanting to provide us that product, right, that we can go out and do this, and they are just as big of enthusiasts as we are. And so I was really happy this year. I was like on pins and needles. Your first year coming back, you go all in. I rode this Skidoo, but I'm going back to players, 324s that have been, and I've tried not to bug you too much, but I literally text you every week. Is everything good? Everything good?
And I'll tell you what, this has been my best year for sled so far. And when I first got here, I said that, and I'm like, I should stop saying that because something's going to happen, but everything's been great so far.
Well, and that's what we all hope for, right? Is like when you spend your hard-earned money to go do something like that and build sleds and ride, we just want to capitalize on the day and have no bad days.
Yeah, and that's why I have multiple sleds though too, because when I'm out here, time means everything. Mm-hmm. Like, and that goes for anyone who comes out here and rides. Like, if they only make it out one trip a year, to me, those days are invaluable.
Yep.
Like, and you need to be on the snow every single day. Like, it's so important.
Yeah.
And that's my mindset anyway.
Well, we'll wrap this up here, but I think my biggest takeaway and what I would tell the people out there is, I think what's interesting is we get good riders here at BBA, but we get very few great riders. And you were a good rider, Dale?
Yeah.
In the beginning?
You called me 7/8.
7/8. Well,
I was
because
that
what
close to the top.
and that's of a huge compliment because of what we were riding, right?
Yeah.
And my goal for you was like, Dale, I don't want you to be 7/8. Dude,
Right.
you're getting through all the hard shit. And it's literally what your goal was this round is like, I want to complete the line. I don't want to get through all the junk and mess up on something stupid at the top.
I did that yesterday once.
And I remember it. But, you know, I think that's what's very interesting to me is that there's a ton of riders out there that are in that same boat that you were back in 2016. They're the top of their group.
Yep.
They pat themselves on the back because they didn't get stuck at all, and they beat their buddies and all this stuff, right? There's just this whole nother level.
Oh God.
And I think that's what's been another enjoyable part is, you know, all we've really talked about is riding and gnarly stuff and all that stuff, but our program has changed so much from that first time in 2016 to now. Like, you know, literally me sticking you in the drills for the last 4 years. Like, I mean, you're a person who I literally like you're on my short list to like, if we have to go down into something, I am bringing you and, you know, these other handful of guys and we're going to be able to come out.
Right.
But I can still go pick you apart a little bit on some drills.
I still
right?
tipped over on one of those drills.
I
And
know.
You were laughing at me. I'm like, really? You had to tip over in front of him?
Yep. Yep. And I think, you know, those are the things that, you know, I get a lot of gratification on is that, you know, to keep pushing you, keep perfecting. And that's, you know, that's what when you said, you know, you're a better rider than you were, it's like, okay, well, I think it's because of all of those little things and trying to continue perfecting the craft. And I think that's why snowmobiling will never get boring, right? I mean, we still got our asses kicked yesterday.
There was a lot of lines that I didn't make that I wanted to make.
Yep.
You know, so for me, I guess there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah.
You know, which is awesome, and that's why I'm always trying to get better and win the line.
Yeah, and that's why this sport, hopefully, as long as it doesn't get shut down,
right?
And all of those
that is
types
concerning.
Of, yes,
yeah.
That it will live forever, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
And so, well, Dale, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, me, Blake, thanks for getting up early. You look a little grumpy over there. You need a egg McMuffin sandwich. But guys, I hope that was fun and entertaining for you. It's always, you know, we talk with the guys, the BBA guys all the time, but it's cool to bring someone who has the same perspective, or had the same perspective as you guys. And now Dale's sitting next to me, and me trying to like make sure I do my job on the hill, and win the line so he doesn't pass me.
Right.
So
Heck
that could be you. But anyway, Dale, we get to go ride again today.
Perfect. Day 3.
I woke up this morning and I'm like, my arms are they're about an inch longer. We did some 900 boost lines yesterday, and today will be no different. So let's go have some fun.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.